making sure that they keep funding the effective programs for our schools.
Thank you. Tim.
I moved to Alexandria in 1983, and I think my first political memory is the Alexandria Democratic Committees, discovering it, and for long, leafleting and doorbelling in Park Fairfax for every Democratic candidate, and precinct watching at the then Charles Barrett precinct, and I became a precinct captain and then a ward leader. This is so far back we had wards. And then deputy chair of the party for precinct operations, the last person to hold that job before they split it in two. Don't know quite what to think about that. Then I got into campaigns for Patsy Ticer and Marion Van Landingham and others, managed Bill Ewell's, three of Bill Ewell's campaigns before I ran myself. But it was also, I think, Marion who got me involved in volunteering through the then called the Volunteer Bureau, where I met my wife. And we got married at the Torpedo Factory, 3 daughters at the Alexandria Hospital. And I just can't get more invested in Alexandria. Proud to be an Alexandrian and proud to be an Alexandria Democrat.
Thank you. Allison.
Thank you. I love that answer. I don't know why. Of course, I first got involved. I moved here in 1989, and I first got involved with the Alexandria Democratic Committee so many years ago. I really don't remember when. And it was really my good friend Adam Eben, who's now a state senator. But then, we first met the first week of college at American University in the early 80s, and it was a poli-sci class, actually, in this first week of college. But so I helped him on his various campaigns. But I've been involved with so many different campaigns through the years, partially through the ADC and partially on my own, partially with the Democratic National Committee, going to the National Convention. But here locally, just been involved with so many different Democratic campaigns and organizing from the ground up, Redefeat Bush, which registered thousands of voters across Virginia, and it was a national effort to register Democrats. It was a great experience, and thank you.
Thank you. Del.
I got my first interest in politics in Omaha, Nebraska. My father was a city councilman as well as later a state senator, and I think I've been campaigning for him all of my life. So I like to think it began in my genes or something. Anyway, I served in Omaha as a precinct captain and a ward chair and the executive director of the Douglas County Democratic Party, the senior party. I also served as the national committee woman for the Young Democrats, so I kind of had a little flavor of it. When I came to Alexandria, I was pulled into activities with Ben Brenman. Everybody was. I couldn't escape him, though he lived in my building. Anyway, I was active in Jack Ticer's campaign and Mel Burkheim's campaign and other campaigns, but in particular, I was active in Chuck Beatley's campaign, where the second time that he ran, I served as his campaign manager and eventually served as his administrative aide. I also later served on one of the boards, what was then the Chapter 10 board, and of course I got involved in the NAACP, and I served as their first vice president. So that's how I got involved.
Thank you. And Melissa?
I've always been sort of on the outside because until 2008 I couldn't vote. I became a citizen and went down to Royal Street and used the early absentee voting and cast my first ballot for the president, for Barack Obama. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life because I got to mark that the reason I couldn't do it is because I was volunteering on Election Day. And then as I was sitting here listening to everybody and their histories, I had always been involved as a kid because my parents used to host stuff with the Liberal Party in Canada. And I got involved and worked for them through college. And probably the other first experience I had was in 2008, Senator Obama was coming here to speak. He spoke at T.C. Williams. There was a big rally. And a friend of mine in his office was like, we need your help. We need somebody to help organize one of the doors and one of the groups coming in. And I was standing on the floor in the auditorium, and there was a bunch of my neighbors there. And I was so excited that suddenly I was around people who believed what I believed and got into the system. And it just was like, oh, there's more to Alexandria than what I had been experiencing. So now, not being on the Hill, it's an opportunity to serve and give back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've reached the last segment of today's forum. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to summarize what he or she believes sets him or her apart and makes them a candidate you should elect to City Council. We'll proceed in a randomly pre-selected order. Tim Levain.
Well, first, thanks for coming here tonight and for staying so long. I thought we'd have a lot more attrition by this point. It was my pleasure to, like I said, to be deeply invested in this city, and I think I've had the experience and the judgment to be a good member of council again. I'm a transportation policy professional. You'll read an article tomorrow about some ideas of mine on the Potomac Yard Crystal City Transitway, and I think that's a skill that the council could use. I chair 3 transportation coalitions, for example, so I know what I'm talking about on transportation, and I know my way around the city budget. But I'm also deeply invested in this community through being a proud parent of 3 students in the Alexandria Public Schools. My wife and I are proud members of the 15% of Alexandrians. Frank Fannin said that schools shouldn't expect to be fully funded since only 15% of the Alexandrians are school parents. Well, we're maybe just 15%, but we're going to fight hard for public education, and we know that there's a lot of the 85% that are with us. Thank you.
Thank you. John Chapman.
Well, I think a couple of things set me apart. Like I said, I was born here, raised here, 4th generation Alexandrian, so the roots go back deep. We've had folks that have struggled to stay here, and folks that are continuing to struggle to stay here. I'm also an educator. One of the things that we're losing is somebody that's Rob Paprika, who's worked very tirelessly for youth and families. And as a current educator, I have that same priority. This morning I was at Child and Family Network Centers over in Alexandria, talking with them about how we can make sure they continue the work that they're doing. And I think we need somebody on council that's focused on our youth and families, because they're the future. You know, we do give a sizable amount of money to our education, our public school systems, but we also have youth services and youth policy that we work on in the city as well, and we need somebody that has a sort of focus on that. Affordable housing. Having been born and raised in our affordable housing communities, I have an idea of how those folks can be coalesced around the ideas that are going to allow them to stay in the city, and I think that's what separates me.
Thank you. Michael Hepburn.
I am running to ask for your support and your vote so we can implement my blueprint for Alexandria. Pretty much it consists around 5 things. I am running so we can create a pathway to success for all of our kids here in our city. I am running so we can provide affordable housing solutions with smart growth, but inclusively. Inclusive collaboration is the key. I am running so we can make sure that we have safe streets in our communities, because that's how we make them stronger and build a better tomorrow. I am running so we can empower our small businesses and continue to have strong fiscal policy, because I will own that issue, I will own the affordable housing issue, and I am running so we can empower our citizens through engagement. I am an executive that has dealt with budgets, multi-million dollar budgets, overseen 100+ employees, so I understand about making hard decisions, and I'm ready to lead. I'm a civic activist that have been doing this since middle school, in a sense, been actively involved in my communities and truly trying to make a difference. So I understand the challenges that we face in our city, and I am ready with your help to provide solutions to meet them. I am a young philanthropist. I am a mentor that understands the challenges that our young people are facing, as far as our kids, as well as, and also our residents. And I'm a union member that understands that it's okay to stand up for what's right, make sure everyone has a place in our city so we can come together and truly create diversity in a place that everyone can live. So in a sense, it can be a great Alexandria for everyone. That's why I'm running for office. I would love to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Menivar.
Over the last decade, 12,000 affordable housing units has been lost. On Saturday, the current city council is likely to approve a plan that will force over 5,000 working people from our city. Our most recent budget was balanced with over $1 million in cuts to social services. Enough is enough. We need a city council whose every act and every budget reflects the values that we have made us such a great place to live. We value education, we value equality and inclusion, and we value democratic participation. But in many ways, we have drifted from our values. Our pursuit of more commercial tax revenue has resulted in the displacement of friends and neighbors and never-ending traffic. It's time to move in a new direction. As the first Latina running for City Council, I am committed to reinvigorating our city, creating a racial housing justice for all, and by creating a political culture where all can participate and be heard. Please vote for me on June 12th. Thank you.
Thank you. Del Pepper.
Okay. I bring experience and vision to the council, and I will be very helpful in the next term as we consider the implementation of a number of our small area plans. You know how the devil is in the details, and I like to think that I would ensure that these plans were implemented in a way that is fair and balanced and sensitive and beneficial to all of the stockholders. This is that's just some of the things that are coming forward, but there were two things that I mentioned in my introductory remarks, and that I will be very interested in working on in the next term, and that is affordable housing as well as advancing our commercial revenue base. I want to thank you all for coming out, and of course I would appreciate your vote, one of your 6 votes on June 12th. Thank you.
Thank you. Boyd Walker.
Yes, my campaign is called Boyd Walker 2012 because I think 2012 is going to be a watershed year. We are having more people who are going to have the opportunity to vote in their primary at their local precincts, and we will have more people voting for city council members in November than we've ever had before. And running with the president, of course, is a great honor. I think if there's any divide that you could see up here, there's people who are pro-development and people who want to have careful development. And I'd like to respond to Melissa. I would disagree with her. I would not be for widening roads. I don't think that is the answer. I also want to comment on one of the challenges facing the schools. I'd like to say that I think schools are important to people who have kids in the schools, and any homeowner or person who lives in Alexandria. Good schools are good for the community. But one of the great challenges is the leadership of our school system. And I'm meeting with Mort Sherman on Friday to assess that personally, face-to-face. I was on the Hunting Towers, Hunting Terrace Task Force, and I do think we should preserve that. I wanted to speak of my vision. My vision in 30 years is to come back and see Hunting Towers and Hunting Terrace there. I would like to come back to the West End and see the hamlets still there and preserved for affordable housing. I would like to come to Old Town and go to a movie at the Old Town Theater. I would like to go to the Parker Gray neighborhood and see the American Legion building. I would like to see us preserve the things that are important in our community before we spend millions of dollars on other projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Feld.
As I said in the beginning, I am a small business owner, a mom with 2 kids in the city schools. I'm an immigrant, and I'm very proud of living here. But I think it's time for a new voice to join our city council, someone to bring a different approach, someone who will bring different business practices and a different set of experiences to the decision-making process that we have and what we're going to have to face in the future. I think the city has beautiful a beautiful history and a great future. And I think that someone who has not always been making decisions or always been part of the process, it might be time for something different. And I would hope that I've convinced you in some of what I've said that there is opportunity for creative voices and creative approaches to the way we solve the problems and take the city into the future.
Thank you. Donna Fossum.
Professionally, I have experience of working out both in the Congress as well as the White House, but my passion has been local government. And since the very first days I moved here, as I told you, I've been involved in grassroots politics. That's what I love. it led me to be appointed to the Planning Commission, the second woman in history, and I'm the only woman in history to ever be in a leadership role there.